Welcome to the Power Lunch. This is Rhett Power, your host. We are live on LinkedIn's new platform, LinkedIn Live. That's a little redundant. Anyway, we do this program Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. We also have a special 2 o'clock show this afternoon, so join us for that as well. I've got a great guest. We'll talk about her in just a little bit. The point of the show, everyone, is hopefully you've watched it before and you know, is that we bring you today's thought leaders, we bring you today's best-selling authors, CEOs, corporate leaders. We want to learn from them. We want to learn about their secrets to success. We want to learn about their habits, and maybe those things can help us all be a little bit better. Now, the fun part about this show, to me, is that it's interactive, so we can take questions live. So ask good questions so that our guests can share with you their thoughts and opinions. And again, that's really the reason we're here, is to help us all get better. So ask your questions. Now, we are simulcasting this on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, with the help of Social Live, as well as being live on LinkedIn. Now, if you like or love the program, give it a share so other people in your network can engage and benefit from what our guests have to say and share. My promise to you is to always bring you the best. Hopefully today I've accomplished that. I've got Greg Brenner. He's author of something that I really, really enjoy, and I think something you need to check out if you're a parent is and middle-aged like me with a little gray hair, smack dab in the middle of life. It's a series on LinkedIn, and I think you'll really enjoy it. He's named the HR Dad. I'm going to dig into that a little bit and what that's about. He's a assistant VP at the University of Miami for talent and leadership development, and he's a Marshall Goldsmith coach. Greg, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Rhett. Thank you for having me, and you do a wonderful job on your show here. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for the kudos. I appreciate that. I have a lot of fun. I get to learn from people like yourself, and that makes my day. So that makes me happy. So there you go. So the HR Dad, man, you are blowing up all over LinkedIn. I love it. I love what you're doing, the engagement, the sort of energy that you're bringing to it. How did HR Dad come? That's a great, I love that.
Yeah, well, thank you. So it's kind of morphed a little bit, and so I lost my parents about 2.5 years ago and 3 years ago, both of them at right around the same time, 8 months from each other. And I used to officiate college football for many years, and so at that time, I was traveling, I was doing a lot of those things, still working my regular job, and I just, I felt this urge that your parents pass, you get really you kind of reassess things, and I was like, I'm not going to officiate anymore. And so I stopped officiating kind of right in my prime of my career, and really loved it. It was great avocation, terrific. And so now I said, I'm going to be home on the weekends. And my wife was like, yes, until like the reality happened. And she was like, you need a hobby. What are you doing home? You're messing up all the mojo and everything that was going on.
And everything. Right.
Yeah. What she used to call it at the end of the football season, she used to call it the reentry phenomenon, when I'd come in and screw up all the plans that were laid. So when I stopped, she said, look, I did it for about a year or so, and I was home messing up all kinds of the kids' plans and her plans and everything. And she goes, you really need a hobby. Please find another hobby. So I knew I didn't want to travel so much. And so I started writing, and I came across this wonderful writing coach. Actually, she came across me through LinkedIn. Her name's Martha Finney. And so I wanted to write. I've always loved to write, but I'm not the best, I would say, grammatical writer in the age of texting and email. It's just like, right, you lose some of that. And so I needed that kind of push and help. But she was such a blessing to me. And so every time I was talking to her about stories I was writing or wanted to write, and, it was either about family and kids and just being in the middle of life, or HR, and more specifically, the environment in HR and what the impact can be with people within workforces across the globe. Mm-hmm. And so so she goes, you know what, you just love HR, and who loves HR like that, you know, and you love your kids and you love your family. And she's like, you know, you're the HR dad. She goes, can you live with that for like the next 20 years? I said, I guess, yeah, it kind of fits. And so she goes, well, start using it and start changing your name. And so this was about, I don't know, 6 months ago. And it has totally stuck. I mean, I've got people walking around my work here. I'm walking around, executives are calling me, hey, there's the HR dad. I'm walking by, you know, a facilities person, hey, there's the HR dad. I'm going, all right, there's something to this HR dad thing. So that's where it was born. I'm not sure if it was a sexy story, but that's the reality of it.
Well, that's how all nicknames come about, right? They're not really ever sexy. Yeah. They just kind of happen, right?
Yeah. So that was it.
I like it though. I mean, that makes sense. And how does, you know, we were talking earlier about this, and how does your work and career sort of intersect with being a dad? I mean, how does that? Are there parallels that you see?
Oh my! I mean, it's like seeing the red car. You know, when you think about, let me go look for a red car. Everybody that's listening today or watching today, go look for the red car. You're going to see red cars all over the place, right? It's the same thing when you take the stories of home and you see it at work, because we're just a microcosm of the family unit, right? And so what we're trying to do with our kids, and I know you have 2 wonderful kids and you're right in the same spot I am, but the lessons that they teach us on how to be a better leader, on how to be a better person, how to be more authentic, are things that absolutely apply to the workplace. And so I think more so from the leadership perspective, without, you know, in the kid perspective of just allowing yourself to be a kid, you know, allow yourself to be a leader, allow yourself to be the best technician, allow yourself to be the best HR. You know, we don't do that. We put all these restrictions, and then you add this social stuff that, you know, we didn't have to deal with as a kid. That is just this online stuff, and it's totally different. So I'm learning from them on the technology standpoint. I mean, just incredible things that I can apply to the workplace. I mean, I didn't know what Instagram was, you know, a year ago, and I was like, "What's an Instagram?" I don't know. So now my daughter had to show me. My 13-year-old daughter had to show me a couple months ago, and I post pictures on Instagram. You know, she's taught me that, and so you can learn so much from the family unit that applies to work. And for some reason, we disconnect that. We think that it's just, It can't be the same. We have to be something different. And to me, it's all about being authentic. And when you can do that at home and you can do that at work, man, that's powerful. So I think there's so many valuable lessons there that we can learn from just being a parent. I don't care if you're a single parent. I mean, look at single parents that are out there. I mean, I've got 2 kids. You have 2 kids. I can't imagine doing it by yourselves and having a full-time job and getting the practice and getting the homework done by yourself. So I have so much respect for that person and that individual, that mom or that dad that are doing that alone. And then you take those leadership lessons and you apply them to work. Man, I think that's the holy grail.
You can do anything if you do that, right?
Yeah. Yep.
What is what's the key to, because I think that's a great tie-in to like culture, right? Because, and do you think that a family kind of has a culture just like a business does?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at families, you know, they have a value set, right? And the parents kind of are those value setters, right? Either, you know, I talk to my kids all the time and I tell them, you know, it's not what you have, it's who you are.
Right.
Now, if you aspire to have money, you aspire to do these other things, you aspire to be whatever it is, that's great. But who you are is more important, right? And so we as parents, we get to set that, and we get to do the same thing within the workforce as leaders. And so there's a value set within organizations, whether you're going to be intentional about it or not. You know, I think that's the key. The organizations that are intentional about it become pretty special places to work. The families that are intentional about how you are within your family become very special families and very special people. So I think they're absolutely intertwined from a cultural perspective. Forget the culture, you're from different places, but just even from a diversity of thought and taking how you listen to your kids, how you listen to their friends, how you listen to a neighbor, but then you still have your own opinions. That's directly translatable to the culture within a work environment, I think.
Do you why are we different at home and at work? Why do we think we have to have this like facade at work of, particularly if you're in management or you're in leadership, right?
I think that's a wonderful question. And I think it's because we've been told to be a certain way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're taught to be a certain way. You have to be this, 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 and this. And in reality, if you can be authentic in both places, there's less crap to remember because you're yourself, right? I mean, if I don't have to remember, oh, I got to follow this step, this step, this step, and I have to be a certain way, I don't know. So I think it's kind of morph over time. You have to be a certain way. You have to dress a certain way. You have to engage a certain way. I mean, look at these social platforms. Everybody is telling you what to do and how to do it. Yeah. And that starts to seep into your mind of, oh crap, if that person said it, if Gary Vee said you have to go out and do, I gotta be Gary Vee, I gotta put the hat on, I gotta get out. I just start swearing up a storm, and all of a sudden I'm like, all right, I'm not Gary Vee, I'm HR dad, I'm Rhett Power, I'm Power Hour lunch thing,
I'm not a hipster, man. I don't have to be.
Exactly. So I think over time you morph into what you think you should be instead of being who you are. And I think that becomes so critically important. And it's hard for people because we put up these walls. We don't want to be vulnerable. We don't want to do all the things that people may look down at, right? Mm-hmm. But the truth be told, if you can be yourself, that's going to stand out like nothing else. It really is.
And that's when people are going to follow you, right? That's when you're going to be able to communicate the vision and the mission of if you're the leader. I mean, it's when people are going to really respond to you, right? If they trust, because when we put up those facades and those walls, yep, it also puts up those barriers that people sort of understand. They get it, right? They figure it out, and then they put up barriers, and then leader. I mean, and
you're walking around like in bumper cars, bumping into walls that are not necessary, and you have these political nightmares within organizations, and you have egos running around that don't fit through the door jams, and all of a sudden it's like, no, I'm powerful, I've got this job, I've got this, or you're the key that holds a process, you're that person that has that bureaucratic oath of taking that you can't get through me unless you get through me, and you take this power and you're on this trip, and it's like, no, let's how do we stop that? So I don't know. I'm sorry, I get emotional about it. I'm okay. Yeah. I'm all right now. I'm all right.
Count to 10. So how do you merge, talking about all that, how do you merge culture and sort of brand, or, how do you merge all that into building a good culture, being a better boss, if I realize in my company that I have a culture problem and I need to make some changes, mm-hmm, how do I even begin that, right?
Right. To me, it starts with one word, and it's intentionality.
Okay.
Everything you do from a cultural perspective has to be intentional. Okay. I'm not saying be inauthentic. I'm saying being intentional. So if there's nothing worse to me that an organization or you can take the family unit as well, that has all the values and behaviors sitting on the wall, right? And the wall, it's a beautiful poster. It's unbelievable. Look, it's integrity. Who's got integrity? And you're like, yes. And that's one of our values here at the university. So I do subscribe to it. But the poster means nothing if the person that walks by the poster doesn't have freaking integrity, right? And it becomes alive. Your culture becomes alive. And it's not anything new that I've come up with. It's what you accept by the least common denominator. What is that behavior you accept defines what your culture is. Forget about the wall. So I'm a proponent of don't put the crap on the wall and say, we value this, and then you do something else. It becomes real when you tie everything together. Intentional about what is it that we stand for? What is it that we are going to invest in you as an employee, as an organization? How are we going to serve our customers or our guests? How are we going to train you to be able to do that effectively? Mm-hmm. How are we going to measure your performance? If that is not all coming together in one, you're fighting a losing battle. You know, you have to have consistency in those messages. And sometimes you got to adapt. Sometimes what you're saying that you need to be, you can't deliver on that promise. And if you can't deliver on that promise, then there's a break in that chain, and something's going to give way, and something's going to not work for either a customer, a consumer, a coworker, a peer, a boss to an employee, employee to a boss. Something's going to break. And so the chains have to be intentionally bound, and to the part of you're willing to fire somebody because they don't live to it.
Right.
That's hard. Well, they're the best. Rhett, you're the best. Nobody writes like Rhett, but you're an ass. Yeah. So, but it's okay. We're going to keep Rhett, but he's an ass. Why are we going to keep him around? You know, everybody knows Rhett's an ass.
We're going to make an exception just for him.
We're going to make an exception. He's bringing a lot of money. He's bringing a lot of money. Right. You know, and so that's what happens. And then all of a sudden, that's the first chink in the armor. Then it breaks again. And then it becomes, oh, we're going to make another questionable hire. And then we're going to make another questionable hire. Or we're going to make an exception to that rule for them. You know, they're bringing a lot of money. So when you hit that nirvana, it's that intentionality. Doesn't mean crap doesn't work. It doesn't mean that things don't break. It doesn't mean that employees don't get in fights with each other. It doesn't mean that you don't like your boss. It doesn't mean any of that stuff. All that stuff still happens.
Right.
However, when it's together, ooh, watch out. Watch out.
Right. No, that makes when everybody can trust that they're living by the same rules, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it makes it fair. Yeah. People just want a fair shot. People want to be treated fairly. They want to feel like they belong. We have a big thing here at our organization, our university, where our president likes to, you want to add value and be valued. And that makes people feel like you belong. You know, people want to belong. They don't feel like they belong if there's different rules for different sets of people.
Do you think that applies at home too?
Absolutely. Which one of your kids is a favorite kid?
I don't have a favorite kid.
I was such a good, I just wrote about that in an article I wrote last week.
I was ready for that.
Glad you didn't fall into that trap. I would have talked you out of that, but it's okay. We'd had a coaching session. But it does apply at home, you know, and having a strong culture doesn't mean it has to be a rules-based culture. Okay. It doesn't mean that you need to do this, and this to be successful in our culture. It does mean that this is our vision. There's acceptable ways we should act. But to me, culture is not a checklist. To me, there's individuals that need to be treated differently and managed differently, but under the same umbrella of what you value as an organization or what you value as a family.
Right. Core values. Right. The core values are your guiding principle.
Core values are your values. How you get to that end game is the power of hiring people, or the power of being a parent, or the power of being a 16-year-old junior or a 13-year-old eighth grader. You bring something to the table. Let's value that. Mm-hmm. So
what talk about your smack dab in the middle of life series. Talk about that. Because to me it's you reflecting on where you are in life and sort of the lessons that you're picking up at these different stages. Has that been cathartic for you? What do you get from writing those stories?
You know what? I'm an introvert. You may not tell by my animation, but I'm an introvert by nature. So I'm very much in my thoughts, and so a lot of stuff doesn't always come out. So it's given me an opportunity to verbalize through pen or typing in this case, what's in my head, which can be scary because there's crazy stuff in people's heads. Yeah. But there's so many great lessons, and I think it's cathartic for me, but at the same time, I think what's special about it is, and why I chose smoke smack dab in the middle of life, is that regardless of your age, we're all right there. So if you are a 20-year-old, you're smack dab in the middle of being Gen X or Gen Z, or whatever it is today. If you're in our shoes, you're smack dab truly in the middle of life, hopefully, with teenage kids and getting through this part of the life. Or if you're at the end stage, you're right in the middle of that life. And so
it's all real, right? It's all real.
Yeah. And so what it's done for me is it gets stuff out of my head, number one. Two, it gets me to point out the real goodness and richness that goes on everyday life. Mm-hmm. And so for me, that's so powerful, where you are able to write and articulate and pay attention to these events that happen that just make you laugh. They might make you cry. They might, shake you to the core. And what I found is it just resonates with so many people that are going through similar things. And the main thing is that, and I'm very much also not only an introvert, I'm very much about serving others and inspiring other people. And so when you can do that through story and the power of storytelling, and kind of poke fun at yourself sometimes, or poke fun about life, it makes life a little more digestible. You can say, it's not so bad. Or you have a 13-year-old daughter that comes up with something. There's an article I wrote. You can check it out. It's probably not good for TV, but I did write about it around Thanksgiving last year. And the questions that she comes up with, that you just, as a parent, you're like, I don't even answer that question, And so it's been great, and it resonates with people. One, because it's authentic, it's real. Everybody can relate to it. And it's just been a great way to express myself. So it's been super gratifying. It's even more gratifying for me personally that other people can resonate and they tell their own powerful stories. I get tons and tons of messages saying, I can't believe you were talking about that, and here's what happened to me. And to me, man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It just makes you feel good all over.
Yeah, that makes it really makes it worth it. I mean, it's worth it already, but yeah, when you get that kind of feedback, it's very gratifying.
Yeah, it's awesome.
What before I get to my LinkedIn question, I want to see what we've got. We've got Jane thank you for joining us. Pete, thank you. Hello from London. SV Ned Incorporated, thank you for joining us. We've got Artyom from New York. Thank you guys for joining us. If you have any questions, please do ask. I know Greg will gladly answer if he can. But thank you for joining us. Thank you for the feedback there and some of the comments.
Thank you.
Let's get to LinkedIn for a second. You've been doing a lot of LinkedIn. You're on there all the time. You're blowing up with the content and just with your engagement that you're doing. Why is LinkedIn so important? Because I get so many, and I have my own opinions, but I think I get so many people that put a profile up and then just kind of go away. Mm-hmm. And from my own experience, it's been incredible, the people that I've met, the business that has come from it. I just don't know why anybody's not really engaging on it. But what's your thought on where it is and where it's going?
I just think LinkedIn is such a wonderful, platform to network with people, and not only network for people. The reason why I turned to LinkedIn before I even started doing content, I was on LinkedIn for, I don't know, a year or two, probably 2 years plus, I didn't post one thing. I was the ultimate voyeur. I was looking at it and talking, and on that peeping Tom, like, let me look over there. Oh, did they see me look at their profile? I don't know. What does that mean? I mean, I was just looking, so I was that guy. And the main reason why originally I came to LinkedIn was because I love to learn. So I'm a lifelong learner, and there's such a robust, when I started coming on the platform, there's so much robust sharing of information that, I used to have a boss called, well, we can't send you to training because it's too expensive, but if there's anything free out there, it's great. So, but if it's premium, it's even better. So I heard this word freemium. So there was so much freemium content on LinkedIn that I just was like, yeah, it's free, it's premium. There's people that have gone through stuff, they've got experience. And so I was always there just kind of lurking literally around this learning platform. I looked at it as a learning platform. And then to me, it kind of started to change a little bit. And again, as I said, being an introvert, I'm not the best networker. I mean, it's just not my shtick. I don't love going to a big, although I'm getting better at it. I'm going to a couple local things. I've gone to some other things, and I feel like I'm getting better because I feel like I'm awful in small talk. I'm awful at it. I'm like embarrassed by it.
It's like Rocky before you go into the thing to get pumped up, right?
I'm going up the stairs, but now that I turned 50, I'm huffing and puffing by the time I get up to the stairs. I can't breathe. So it's just like, oh, what do I do? And so it was a great way to connect with people. And so over the last couple months, I've been able to, it's where I kind of house my writings, and I do a lot of videos and posting and things of that nature. And I really kind of built this thing outside of my normal work, which has been so much fun. And I've met people that I would have never, before we hopped on the air, we were talking about it. I've met so many people that I would never have met before. It was like my officiating, where I went across the country and I met these people that I would never have met. I've been in places I've never met. And I've met these wonderful people, whether through exchanges of comments or actually picking up the phone and getting on a call with people. I mean, I've talked with the Lila Smiths of the world. I've talked with the Shay Rowbottoms of the world, Steve Wollenhouses of the world. I met Martha Finney, the person who created the HR Dad, damn it, on this platform, right? Or pushed me to it. I've met, global leaders of organizations. I've had conversations with CEOs of billion-dollar organizations. I've met other global HR people in this platform. I've met you now. Right. I mean, it's just incredible the reach that you have. And I'm not in business. I mean, I have a day job. I'm not hawking anything. I'm just writing and kind of posting about daily crap, and it's powerful. So it's been I think, Shay Rowbottom likes to talk about it when I've met with her and talked with her. She says, this is where Facebook was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And from a business perspective, if you are in business, if you're not on this and interacting and you're in some kind of service to service or business to B or business to C or whatever the heck you're doing, it's foolish if you're not there. I mean, if that's where you need to be to generate business. Now, yes, there's a whole bunch of business that happens outside the platform. But if this is where you need to be and you want to be around educated people where a lot of them have, money and everything else like that, if you're in business, man, shame on you if you're not taking advantage of it.
And if you just want to be better, right? If you just want to learn.
Be better. And that's why I came. Now they have LinkedIn Learning, but when they bought the Linda thing, it's even, oh my God, the training's awesome if you can take the time and invest in yourself. So start there.
Yeah, and it really starts with engagement, right? I mean, it's replying to people's messages, sending them a note that when they post a good article or a good video, saying thank you for that. That was time. It's not hard.
No, engagement. I mean, that's the key. I was working with Lacey Abaki, and she taught me it's all about engagement, and it's all about just and being genuine about it, and even if you don't like what they have to say, not that you don't like, you don't have to comment on what you don't like, but just say, hey, that was cool that you did that, or there's that little comment can make somebody's day. It's amazing. And
it's amazing. I was coaching a younger person the other day, and she said, well, I'm nervous about reaching out to that person. And I said, well, look, I reach out to 10 new people a day that I want in my network. Right. And sometimes they don't respond. Mm-hmm. I'm a Forbes columnist. I've got a profile and I still get 0 sometimes.
That's wrong. Give me those names. We're gonna post those at the end of the show.
I am not going to do that. But my point to her was, look, even when you get to be almost 50 like me, right? People aren't going to respond sometimes, and that's okay. I've tried.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're more surprised than often when they do respond. Mm-hmm. And I think, you just can't be afraid to reach out to somebody that could really help you get where you want to go.
It is such great advice you gave her. And I tell you what, that was one of the first people I reached out to on the platform was the CEO of a major company. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I reached out to 5 people because I was looking for some mentorship. Even at my stage of my career, I'm always in this continuous improvement mode, right? Mm-hmm. Always, how do I get better? How do I do this a little bit? I mean, it's just how I'm wired. Even if what I was doing was great, how do I do it better? Right. And so I wanted to combine, some of the HR stuff with really understanding the business side of the business, and who better to do that is you hang around with a couple CEOs who understand the business. Right. I reached out to 5. 3 of them were global HR people. Okay. 2 of them were CEOs. Okay. 1 of them responded. None of the HR people responded. Okay. Really? 1 of the CEOs did not respond. And the one is a huge organization that responded. And what did he say? He said, part of our mission, you get back to culture, is, and I forget the exact words because it was really about a year ago, was to help other people find their happiness or something along those lines. It was part of him living their corporate values. Yep. All right. So you come full circle back to living what you're saying and you're preaching. He was living it. And not only did I have 1 conversation with him, I've had 2 or 3 conversations with him. Now, am I going to pick up the phone and say, hey, so-and-so, can we talk today? No, I'm not there. But he spent 3 hours with me over a period of time, which I would have never been able to do. Now, those people are busy. They're not going to be able to do it with everybody. If they respond, it's great. If they don't take it personally. But there's power there. I would also add about this, Rhett, it is fully about engagement, and it's not about the likes and the connections, the number of connections. Don't get caught up in that game. I mean, there's so many people that promote, hey, congratulations to me, I got 15,000 connections today, woohoo! Oh. I mean, people are like, and I'm like, take this pencil right here and stab it through the back. Nobody cares that you have 15,000 connections. Now, those people that have 1 million or 2 million, nobody cares that they have 1 million or 2 million. They just have a bigger reach. Yeah. So it's not a big deal. I don't look at the numbers. Do I peek every once in a while and say, where am I at? Yeah, of course, I peek. But it doesn't drive me. Like if I have 5,000 or 6,000, 7,000 followers that are engaged and in line with and being around people that I want to be around, I'm perfectly good with that. Yeah. If I get up to a couple million followers and they're engaged and they believe in kind of this stuff that we're talking about that drives me and drives you and you write about and part of this stuff, that's great. If I have 2, that's even better. Right. Who cares?
Nobody at the end of the day, right? But it's about the community that you build and what I don't also say what you can gain from that, but what value you can give to that community and what Absolutely. what you need from that community as well.
Absolutely. And there's some talented people that are sharing information on that platform that have 1,000 followers.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple people out there that I kind of peek around and say, man, that's quality,
I actually rather talk to those people because
and they'll return your call because they're eager.
They're that and they clearly don't care about the marketing and the getting in. Yeah. I mean, they're focused on creating really good content or really good really good program
relationships with people.
Yeah,
it's great.
Well, this has been interesting. Let me see. I still got a bunch of hellos. No questions, guys. Ask them questions. Got a minute or two more.
Mm-hmm.
The last question I always ask people is, what's the best advice you ever got?
To me, that's always, there's probably a couple points in time.
And who was it from?
Okay. There's probably a couple different points in time I got great advice, right? One that jumps in my mind while we're at first kind of glance was, I used to own a restaurant years ago, and it was in a time when it was right after 9/11. Huh?
You're still alive?
No, that's where I lost all my hair. I had a full set. I had more hair than you at that time, and then you own a restaurant for 4 years, and then it
Wow.
mysteriously goes. But it was a very challenging time. Not only the restaurant business is extremely hard to make money in; it's a penny business. But also, it was right after 9/11. We did we were near an airport. There's a whole lot of factors. But at the end of the day, I was struggling to stay open. Right? It just I became so knowledgeable about cash flow. I was taking money out of the register to go run, and I had 40 employees that I had to go run. I was running the bank, trying to make payroll, and that went on for like 6 months. So it was kind of probably like boat ownership. They say the best time is when you buy it, and so we had to close it, and
I can remember.
And so the advice that one of our customers that told me, one of my guests told me, and he was a business person, and it was a unique. We were busy. We just had so much other things going on that it just the debt I had taken on to buy it, and it was the perfect storm. And he said, Greg, he goes, don't throw good money after bad money. It's like, okay, and at that time, if you're up and you have financial problems and you feel this need to try to survive for this people that are feeding their families on your business, I felt this strong desire to stay open as much as I could, so those 40 families could eat, even if I had to feed them in the restaurant, right? I just had this strong moving to it. And he said, Greg, he goes, you have to know when to say enough is enough. And that was the day I said, I can't do this anymore. I had taken good money, put it after money that I knew I was never going to be able to get out of it, right? Yep. And as I was doing that, it started replaying back the last 6 months when I was in trouble of borrowing money, going to the bank, doing this, trying to make sure this dream happened when it was dead, right? It doesn't mean it was dead forever. It just means that right now this thing is not working out in the way you want it to do. Close it, go on to something else, and you'll be fine, right? And so that in that moment, it was a game changer. And I think it's, when I think about it, as you've asked that question, it's carried me through life a little bit. Because if you invest yourself in other people and they're not reciprocating, that's the wrong thing, but you don't have this, support, or you don't have, or you're getting, treated poorly or whatever, and you stay in those type of things, you wouldn't do that normally. And so it's forced me to say, if we're going to invest, either myself or my own time, invest openly, but know when you need to stop. And so it was a very difficult time for me, but at the same time, were a lot of lessons for me. So that was probably one of the biggest pieces of advice that I ever had.
No, that's a really big one, actually. I think having done similar things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much, Greg, for being on the program today. This was a lot of fun, and we learned something. We have a question. Should we answer it?
Okay. Yes, of course.
All right.
We're good.
RTM asks, what is the best way to pivot towards a new career path? What message? Let me see here. I'm trying to pull it up. It looks like it's not. I've got to see more down at the very bottom. But what is the best way to pivot towards a new career path? What message can you put on LinkedIn? I think is what he's asking, to sort of advertise that you're you want to switch careers?
Yeah. So I think I think a lot of people have that question. So it's a wonderful question. Thank you for asking it. I would say the first thing to do is to do some searching of yourself first. I'm a big Simon Sinek work fan. I just love the power why. I love all those things. And so getting really focused in on why you do what you do, and then aligning some of that to what you're good at, and understanding that, and really thinking, all right, well, I want to go to this other profession. You wouldn't be the first person, you wouldn't be the last person that switched professions. So don't let that be a barrier for you, that, no, I'm just an ops guy or a gal, and I'm just an ops. I made that switch in my own career. I was an ops person, for many, many years. And then I made the switch to the people side because that's where my calling was, really. I know that's cliches, but I love working for people. Right. And so really getting clear about why you do what you do, number one. And number two is start to pivot well before you're ready to pivot. Start reaching out, start connecting with people before you need to do it. So many people wait until, all right, I can't take this anymore. My boss is an ass. This is that. I've got to get out of here. I'm out of here. I'm walking. And then you go home and nobody cares. Right? And then you're stuck. And now these yellow slips keep on coming in the mail, if you still get mail, or on email saying you're late, and I got no money to pay for it. So making sure you're being smart about your career transition. You can plan it. Doesn't mean you can't be spontaneous if you don't want to be spontaneous. I'm not telling you don't live your whatever out, but be intentional about it. If you need to connect with 100 different business leaders, connect with those people before you make that pivot. Get a mentor or two. Talk to the people that have been successful. Go to a workshop. What skills do I need in this new world order that I don't have now? What's transferable from the skills I have that I can apply later? And so really taking that inventory of yourself first. A lot of times we think, what's that person doing? Rhett's really good at this. What is he doing? Let me do what he does. Rhett's successful because of him, not because of you. You're going to be like Rhett unless you're Mike, Mike from the Chicago Bulls. And everybody wants to be like Mike, but I can't dunk a ball. I don't have that talent. So I would say take an inventory of yourself. Start to connect with people ahead of time. Start doing content not around what you want to do. You just start to put something out there. So say if you want to be, you want to get into sales of something, start talking about sales. Hey, I bumped into this. Talk about normal life stuff around sales. I bumped into this person. I would love to do that work because I think I could do it better. Who knows about that stuff? And start asking questions, engage with people. So I think that's a really good place to start.
And building your net. So summarize, build the network of people in that industry. Find out what what you need to do to make that transition, whether it's go back to school, get certain certifications, whatever it is, and start doing all that, right? Have a game plan.
Right.
What you're saying. And I think it's okay to put it out on LinkedIn in an honest way, right?
Absolutely.
I have a successful career in this, but I'm really fascinated by organizational development. So I want to make a career switch.
And you'll be shocked to know when you frame it like that, you'll be shocked to hear how many people want to help you.
Yeah.
Because people inherently want to help people, and some don't, but for the majority of people want to help people, and you'll be shocked at the amount of people that will help you. So
and ask for that help, because
you got to ask for it. Nobody's going to come knock on your apartment, your house, or your home, wherever, and say, hey, come do this. I'm going to take you under my wing. Never going to happen. Not never.
Well, Greg, thank you so much. This has been the Power Lunch. We've got a special edition of the show today at 2:00. And so tune in for that. And if you want the Power Lunch to come to your event or your conference or whatever it is, please reach out via the website, powerlunch.live. We're happy to come and broadcast live from your event. That'd be a lot of fun. Anyway, so thank you so much for spending the afternoon with us. We'll be back here in a few minutes, and see you in a few. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Rhett. Take care. Bye, everybody.